Hi, and welcome to the Ascension Playground. My name is Ursi, and I'm so excited to have Robbie, Jimmy, and our fun guest, Nancy Jean, join us today as we go deeper into sharing what our heart's desire is to bring forward Healing Saturdays. And so I was listening to Nancy's YouTube channel, and recently she was talking with Dr. Gail and Kelly Foster, and they were having a chat on encouraging folks who are new YouTube channels or haven't started, but they want to, but not sure how. And so the three ladies were sharing from their hearts, hey, let's get going. And I know it's 2022, and for me, it was that catalyst year to like roar, not roar for myself, but roar so that my soul family can hear me, and then we'll connect with one another. Plus, we're in this Aquarian age energy where going solo, that is so Piscean. Now in the Aquarian energy, we're to work as a collective and to start developing our networks, because as a collective, we're stronger and there's more potential for synergy and synarchy to happen as we move ahead. So just a reminder, our origin story as the Ascension Playground is really to just allow ourselves to bring the inner child forward, to play and to dance with whatever wants to come forward. But as a child, remember just running on the playground, going up the slide, playing on the teeter-totter. So we've invited Nancy, and we've said, one of our fairy godmothers. And since our YouTube channel is so new, we wanted her to come and bless our Ascension Playground, because we want to learn from Nancy, we want to ask for her blessing, and we want to thank her in advance, because as we go forward, we could use those helpful hints for, hey, you think you might want to go this way instead of that way, or had you considered X, Y, or Z? So Nancy, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me to come over today. And when I sort of got talked into doing YouTube by other readers, because they would come to me and ask me questions about things, because most readers read on a topic I won't read about, politics. And I said, if I do a channel, it's going to be all how we develop and how we grow and how to use our spirit and what tools we have within ourselves and from the universe to work with. And they all said, well, you'll have a lovely channel and you and the 10 people watching you. And I said, okay. And so what I did, though, is I started my channel. But before I did, one of the readers had said, write down 100 ideas of what you can talk about. Well, for me, that's really easy, because as I was saying earlier, I'm one of those people, when they say one of the biggest fears people have in their lives is public speaking. I miss that gene. I do not have it. And I'll talk about anything, anytime with anybody. So I came up with 100 topics. And my first shows were based on just talking about different things. And what the topics were is, I've been reading tarot since I was 12 and have tripped around in all that in the world of woo for a long, long time, and have gained a whole lot of knowledge about different things. And I don't even remember where I learned half the things I know how to do. And one of the things I did when I was table reading was, people would say, oh, well, that's easy for you to say. And I'd say, no, I'm going to tell you how to do it. And I would give them tips and tricks and ways to use all the universal energies, whether it's angelic or guides or cards or prayers or just focus or meditation, or, as you know, if you know anything about me, I also work with stones and crystals. And I would tell them how to work with them, because it's great when you watch somebody on YouTube saying, raise your spiritual vibration. And people go, huh? I don't know where the hell it is. How am I going to know if I'm going to raise it? And so, and I'd go find ways to do that. And that's what I did. And so if you go back and look at my first 3 months of shows, I went through numbers, numerology, did like a show on 1, a show on 2, a show on 3. I did things across the board on different healing techniques I knew, different focusing techniques. And we're going to talk about healing because of what Jimmy does. And I understand how it works. I don't heal. So if you want to get healed, go to Jimmy. He heals people. I just talk them to death. Anyway, so my tip for people is, first of all, you don't need a lot of elaborate equipment. You can use an iPhone or an Android phone. Just get yourself on Zoom and tie into YouTube, and you can go. I mean, if when you see people with lots of elaborate equipment around them, that's fine, but you don't really need that. You just need to have a point of view. You need to come and honestly speak about your passion. Where I see people get in trouble is they think I'm going to do a channel and they don't know why they're really there. And you don't have to have a complete picture of why. You can just walk in every day and say, okay, Spirit, tell me where I'm going today. And it'll work. So that would be my thing on starting your channel. And so yours is a perfect place for people to come and see other things other people are doing. I mean,
I love that tip. I love, write down 100 things that you're passionate about. When you said that, it's like, yes, that's the energy. When we pause to remember, instead of reacting to what's around us and what we're hearing, we follow Joseph Campbell's theory of follow your bliss. And that will set the course for where you may want to go. Now, you shared with me yesterday, Nancy, that many people just love your crystal grids, and so much so that they're thinking of you only as a crystal grid builder. However, you are an incredible and awesome card reader. Can you say a little bit about that? Because I know we asked if you would give a blessing to our Ascension Playground.
Well, I actually pulled a card for you today. And this is from a deck. It's based on Tarot, which means that it has the major and minor arcana. And I pulled the 10 of, the 10 would be the Wheel of Fortune in a traditional deck, but it's in the Inner Child deck. And it's the it's from Alice in Wonderland is the character that's featured on this card. And she's befitting being on a wheel. She's on a merry-go-round. And when this card appears in your reading, you are seeing your life from a higher perspective. Explore the realms of dreams and visions and expanding your own awareness at this time. Good fortune is just around the corner, even if there are no corners to go around right now. And to participate, turning the wheel of fortune to your favor. Be the eternal optimist. Know that the power of prosperity and consciousness is your ace in the hole. Take advantage of the golden opportunities that are coming your way. And good luck in all that you do. And if you get this deck and get this book, each one of these cards, it has a huge interpretive manual. It's a book. And each of these cards, the couple who developed this deck took 20 years to develop it. And I don't think this, there's the book. And when I found this deck 30 years ago, I think it had just come out when I found it. And I just absolutely love it because it throws so much fun whimsy into Tarot. It's what I call a progressed deck. In other words, in a traditional deck or a deck that's sort of based on traditional Tarot, this would still be called the Wheel of Fortune and it would have that kind of imagery on it. These progressed decks are where they've taken the idea of Tarot, they blended it with another idea, and in this case, it's childhood images. And the stories and how accurate these are, if you want a deck to do a one-card pull, a deck to wake up in the morning and say, what do I need to know today? This deck is so wonderful because it's so positive, and it's not going to give you, even if it's telling you, take caution and hold your horses, it's doing it in a childlike way.
If we could pause for a minute and just all of us look at this card. It is so hilarious when you start looking at the details and we think about the Ascension Playground. First of all, the wheel has the rainbow colors. Secondly, there's this book or outline or script, which is on the floor. And then, oh, look, there's a bunny rabbit, Robbie. With ears, and they're saying hello, and there's this what is it, the Ace of Hearts, Nancy, and then the Mad Hatter with the teacup, and back here is the Queen of Hearts in a tent. Sorry, can't really see that so well, but I just love it. And the wheel goes round and round. Anyone else see something they want to comment on? Because it's a pretty interesting card that you pulled, Nancy.
Yeah, well, I really liked it when Nancy mentioned the notion that the card kind of represents this notion of opening up to your dreams and visions. And
Hmm.
if in fact you do that, if you follow your joy, that in fact is your purpose and your path. Oftentimes people will ask me, what is my purpose? And my response to that would be, what is your joy? It's a very simple equation. And so be open, be open to your visions, be open to your joy. So, and that's kind of what the Ace of Hearts there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also in numerology, 10 is the ending. It's also the beginning
Mm.
because things have to end for things to begin. And um, in true numerology, 10 reduces to a one. So it's the beginning and the end. And that's what it marks. And in the tarot, wherever the 10 falls in the minor arcana or in this place, it's always a point of change and transition because something is letting go and a new thing's emerging.
I love it. You see the Cheshire cat too.
Yep, he's riding them.
It is so rich with so many. I think these are some of the guests coming on. We're going for a spin. Oh my goodness.
So that's kind of, and that's where you guys are. You've come to an end of your part of the journey, and now you want to expand and teach others what you know and share.
Love that. Yeah, so like you go from 0 to 9, and then when
Mm-hmm.
you hit the 10, it's like starting another ecliptic. It's not like a full circle, but it's actually more of a spiralic, like you're on that next level now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it is really a dance to try and get over oneself to come out and have a YouTube channel and figure out, okay, I'm not sure what's next, but I'm going to do my part and show up and
Mm-hmm.
engage and let spirit come on the other side. And I think something, Nancy, you said too, is we do speak a whole different language. Because I've had some family members and friends say, I don't even know what you just said. The
Yeah.
collective, what are you talking about? And so the playground is also to help language, like share, this is what we mean. But our moving into the heart, our purest intention is to help support this movement within this new energy that we're on in Earth.
Yeah, because people are embarrassed. They don't want to say, how do you do that? Or what is it? They won't say it in a group or collective. People would say it to me when I would read them one on one. They'd go, well, how do I do that? And one of the things I used to teach people was 6 deep breaths. And this is scientifically proved. University of California in LA did a study on, and it's where all mindfulness comes from it. You take a deep breath in to a count of like 6, you hold your breath for 4, and then you slowly exhale 8 or more than the 6. Just and if you do that 6 times, you actually physically change. If they have little electrodes attached to your head, it actually changes how your brain waves are processing things. So you go from being reactive, which is, when you're frantic and feeling anxiety or feeling fear, and you go into a proactive role. Your brain actually shifts where the information is getting processed through in the brain. And my story on this one is I had a young lawyer who I read his girlfriend and I was so accurate. He said, well, I just want to kind of find out what you do. So it ends up, I used to work in politics and I knew who his boss was. And he was right. His boss is an SOB. And he said, and he finally, because I get people tell me things they would never tell their mothers, right? He goes, I'm terrified at work every day. We get called into these group meetings. And he said his eye scans around the table. And even though I'm fully briefed and I know exactly what I need to say and I know exactly where I am, he locks in on me and I'm gone. I'm done. And I said, I can teach you something to help you with that. And I told him about the 6 deep breaths. And he looked at me like, you're nuts. I can't go in the bathroom on the way to the meeting, take 6 deep breaths and be a different person when I came out. And I didn't see him for 6 weeks. And then when he came back, he sat down. And I said, well, how's it going? And he said, I did it. I stopped, made an excuse, went in the restroom before we went into a meeting, did the 6 deep breaths, sat in the table, sat where I always sit at the table as he's going around. He's looking around the room and he looks on me and he said, I could see it in his eyes. He knew I was different. I wasn't going to be the mouse to his cat. So he went on to the next guy who's going to be the mouse to his cat. And I said, so how are you feeling about life now? And he said, I'm applying to different law firms.
Wow. So Nancy, if we just start chatting with you and there's these pearls that just come out, like the 6 deep breaths. I've got my 8 gold stones sitting in my front doorway. I mean,
Right.
and there's the red candles. So anyone listening that doesn't know about Nancy Jean's Garden on YouTube, go check that out. And now I'm going to segue over to 3 questions we're going to ask each of the fairy godmothers. Nancy. Okay, if you would, and this is open, share with us from your experience what's worked on your channel, what has not worked, and where you're headed with your channel in the future. So past, present, future, kind of. Okay. Whatever you want to share.
What's worked is having the format I have, because people can go to my channel, and I actually had a guy who listened to me for a month driving to work, because he'd just get on it and he'd just go to the next topic and the next topic, because nothing I have out there is aging because of time. It's all true. If it was true the day I said it, it's probably true now. I may have improved on it because I'm learning all the time. That works. And then having tech support, my youngest son is a wizard with computers. And I mean, he just passed this morning. He went and took the last certification he needed. He is now as certified as you can get in his field. And it's going to almost double his salary. And he was already in 6 figures by passing that test. He was in and out of that test in an hour. They told him he took the least time anyone has ever had to take it. So tech support worked. Having that late in life baby worked. Nothing to do with YouTube, but what can I say? I want to brag on my boy. But what didn't work? Sometimes collaborations with people don't work. Sometimes trying to get in with people and I got into the numbers game. Oh, my numbers aren't growing fast enough. So I was getting hooked up with readers who had much higher numbers. And some of them were not people I really should have been reading with, because we're just in a different sphere. I mean, they look at me like, what the hell do you do? I mean, how do you talk about that all day? And I'm like, and that was not, some of those were not. And then technically get to know your machine. My son keeps adding microphones and different things. And I was on a show where the guests could hear me, but the audience couldn't when we went live. So the only person I could hear was her. And she's a charming and nice lady, but she was saying things that I knew were wrong. And finally I just said I just crashed the system and said, I explained to her, oh, I'm sorry, it broke. But it was live. I couldn't pull her words back. It's kind of interesting. And where am I headed in the future? Well, I've been on an ongoing cycle. I've been in the world of woo since I was 12. I know just enough astrology to be dangerous, just enough numerology to confuse people. And I know a lot about tarot, and I know a lot about card reading. And then I got into crystals 3 years ago, and I just developed this passion for understanding how the rocks work. And I started building my crystal grids. And since then I've gone to creating a garden, which is it's a divination tool that doesn't have the yes, no, the black, white of tarot. It's more open than that. You cannot ask a yes, no question on this. And you can't ask about politics, because every reader that tries, the stones just roll off the board. It's hysterical. But anyway, but it's got a lot more dimensions, and it's more of how you see the world and where you can grow in the world. And that's a tool that I channeled in. It was not here before. And then the eggs and the grids are ways for people to use crystals to empower and equate their own energy. And I kept saying, why do I keep getting rocks and energy? And now my latest rabbit hole is ley lines, the earth energies that are happening and shifting right now, and what's going to happen in the next couple of years with that. And I'm going to be doing a series of shows with a young man named Johann von Wick, who goes around repairing ley lines all over the world. And Sheila and I are going to be doing some shows with him. And Sheila's going to do a much better explanation of ley lines than I can, because she's going to do it with graphics and stuff. I got very clearly from my guides about a month ago that I knew this before, because of Robert. I worked with crystals in Atlantis and in Lemuria, and that's what I've always done. And I've always been a person who figured out how to make them work beyond just being there and being pretty. And I've tied to it this time that what I've always known is that we're never alone and that we're all united, and we're all united by certain physics, what we would call physics principles. And that's when you lose people. When you say the word sacred geometry, people's heads just fold up. And I don't blame them, because I flunked geometry the first time. But these are paths that are leading us to understand how we're all universally linked. And so I'm just a fractile in this enormous thing that's happening. My fractile just talks more than others.
Your fractile explains things really well. Yeah, I really like the idea that you're going to move into ley lines. Years ago, I had a residential client, and she asked me over to her house because she felt that there was an energetic imbalance. One of her daughters was actually consistently or chronically ill with some respiratory issues and things like this. So I went over to the house and quickly found out that she had a major ley line running right through her house and running through her daughter's bedroom. And so, believe it or not, previous to that, I had met a shaman from Peru, believe it or not, at an architectural conference. And so I invited him to the house because I knew he would know how to deal with this, which he was. And I kind of knew what he was going to do, but he did an excellent job of it, with some very large crystals, of course, intercepting and redirecting that particular ley line. So then she decided to build a new house, and she was going to get me involved in it. So we brought the shaman out to her property. And that whatever she was going to do and build on that property would be appropriate relative to the energy and the ley lines on that property.
Right.
And sure enough, right where she was going to build, there was, due to a water source underground, there was a huge portal of energy that was coming up.
She knows how to pick them, doesn't she?
And so we decided we'd shift the house over a little bit. So.
And that's the kind of energetics I'm going to get into. And that is a little, well, okay, what's more out there? Telling people that there's energies in the earth coming up into their home, or is this right? Building crystal grids like this and saying, this will change your life.
Beautiful. Can you hold that up a little bit more, Nancy? Because, you know, as we're seeing that, you and I, Nancy, talked a little bit about the idea of throwing you a crystal grid party on the playground, where we could all bring our crystal grids and give a 2-minute, this is how it's changed my life, thank you party. So I just want to put that in.
Well, we're gonna do that. I just need to get all the names and all of the emails together. But I sent out a thing one time and I said, I need some testimonials to put on my website. I haven't put them up yet because I'm real good about getting things together and then never quite finishing. But and I got some wonderful, wonderful reports back of how things had changed for them. And then I have my one lady, and I kept this one. I know exactly where this email is. And she said, well, to be quite honest with you, that grid's done nothing. It just sits there. It just doesn't do anything. And she said, but in all fairness to your grid, I thought I was ready to change, and I'm not. I'm accepting the fact I'm not changing. So, you know, she owned her own part in that. You have to, it's a two-way street. Anything I work with is, you have to be wanting to work with it. You have to be willing to do it. And
that's a good segue over to this idea of healing Saturdays, that we can ask for healing for ourselves, but when we bring in someone else, it requires participation or an allowance. So I'm going to turn it over to Robert to ask if he would just share a little overview on what our intention is with the Healing Saturdays that are coming up.
What are our intentions? Well, a brief bit about our channel, the Healing Saturdays. We decided to come together and launch this channel under the umbrella of healing. And that is to say, to provide healing on an energetic level and support for all people, pets, places, through a variety of modalities. And so each of us have, Ursula and Jimmy and myself and our special guests, we've all been expanding our consciousness related to metaphysical things and the spiritual side of ourselves for many years. And what we've decided to do is that, with intent, is to use these modalities to provide support to people, particularly in this time where we need help in terms of maintaining our light and maintaining our balance with these troubled times, and begin to teach these modalities as well. So in the coming weeks, it's our intent to do a variety of things, including bringing forth answers from the Akash, providing healing music, guided meditations, prayers, and emanations of love-based energy from Ursula's artwork, and bringing these things together in a synergistic way. So that's our intent, and we invite you to be part of that.
Thank you, Robbie. And also, you know, during our Healing Saturdays, if anyone wants to add to the chat line a name, just has to be a first name, a city and state and country if you're outside the United States, because Jimmy's special gift is working with healing energy. And I'm going to ask Nancy. Nancy, you met Jimmy through our mutual friendships.
Right.
If you want to say anything as our guests about Jimmy's healing work that you've requested at times.
Well, people, I think quite honestly, I thought distance healing was kind of flaky, but I had worked with one distance healer. I read tarot cards. Who am I calling a flake? But I met a distance healer, and I have compromised lungs because I've had pneumonia twice, very seriously. And so I have all the equipment in my house to know what my oxygen sats are. Long before COVID, I knew all about that. I have a oximeter at my thing that reads my oxygen levels at my bed and my chair and here in my office. And I also wear a watch that monitors it at night. And I was starting to slip off into a place where I was going into the 88th percentiles. And for those of you who don't know, some people can't even walk around when they get to the 88th percentiles. And because of another weird thing I have, I'm a non-perceiver. I don't know it's getting that low. So I have little alarms that wake me up and say, breathe. And I met this woman right as I was really sliding on that slippery slope. And she worked with me for a bit. And my breathing has never gotten to 88 again. And I met Jimmy, and we were talking about, because I built a grid for him, and we were talking about some of the things I suffer from. And he said, would you want to join my healing circle? And Jimmy works with you every day. And I don't know what he does. All I know is that recently, when he works with me it's in the early evening, I fall asleep in my chair. And my kids were getting worried. They said, Mom, what's going on? You're passing out. I said, I'm not passing out. I'm just getting very sleepy. And then as soon as I hear my phone buzz and Jimmy says, I'm done, I'm awake again. So I don't know what you're doing in there, Jimmy, but it works fine because I sleep all night. And it really does help. We've had a terrible allergy season in Texas this year, and it's just been miserable. Both my kids are stuffed up and are chewing on the stuff to make it go away. I haven't sneezed. I haven't. This is the time of year when I'm really slammed backwards. So yes, Jimmy works, and my lungs work now all the time. And I've had a heart monitor for 30 days because I had COVID. And when you're my age, they want to make sure nothing else broke. And that's been an interesting journey. Especially when I disappeared. You'll appreciate this, Robert. I disappeared for 2 hours in the middle of the night. It's as if I took the monitor off and then it came back on, and when it came back on, it was going blah, 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 and then it was all settled down again. And so I had to send the monitor into them because they were sure it was broken. And I said, I could explain to you why that happened, but you deal with it your way.
you, you shifted into the fifth dimension for
Yeah.
Opt out.
Yeah, I was up talking to the masters. So anyway,
Nancy, I think one time a while ago, you actually had some visual experience when Jimmy was sending healings during that time.
oh yeah, I had a bad headache one day, and he said, well, just go down and lay in your bed. And I felt these colors rolling over me. And when I talked to him later, that's the colors he'd been sending me to heal me. It was greens and blues, I believe. And so I know he's working. I know. And if you have trouble going to sleep at night, you can sort of package up you can mentally tell your guides or your energy forces to package Jimmy up and then have him start working with you when you go to sleep. Now that's kind of another way. I mean, now I just go to sleep and then at 6 o'clock at night, because what's worth watching on the news? Nothing, right? But he's wonderful. He's marvelous. I've sent a lot of friends to him for healing, and they've all reported good things back to me. So I can't praise him highly enough. And and also the man lives in a very cold, he doesn't live in an igloo, but he probably could build one up there. And so I always admire that, since I'm in the Southwest where it's not so bad.
How does it feel to get some of that feedback?
I was going to say Robert's up here in the north with me, so.
Yeah.
Jimmy's igloo would be a little bit bigger than my igloo, and it would last a little bit longer.
North Dakota.
A couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. But if you are interested in healing, and I know Jimmy's a little bit shy, and at times, like he's dying being on this camera with us right now, but he's doing it because he's attaching to his passion, and he'll get used to it. And he's more than willing to let me talk all day long, so he doesn't have to. So I'm going to shut up so you get to talk.
Anything to add, Jimmy?
Just that I'm going to be ordering one of Nancy Jean's throat chakra eggs. So.
Mm-hmm.
If people don't know, Jimmy offers these as gifts of love, and only recently has the list that Jimmy works with expanded. And so creating our playground is a way to say, if Spirit wants to work with a greater network of those who would ask for themselves or their family or friends with their approval, their pets, or a place, like we can actually send coordinated energy to specific places that could be hot spots on the planet. If there was a volcano eruption, if there's an invasion happening on the globe, but not do it in a political way, but more as an energetic balancing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the miracle of what we're hoping to guide, what we imagine perhaps for the future, is that, sharing that, just try it and see if it works for you. There's no guarantee. This is something that's from the heart. It's free. So if you're open to it and allow it, expect the miracle. Like Nancy has done, it's like, okay, here comes that energy. And you actually saw, I think one time you said there was sparkles and gold too. And I was
that after when I got up and it was all gone, whatever was bugging me was gone. So.
And for Jimmy, as a shy, reluctant, behind-the-scenes healer, perhaps, this is affirmation for him to keep going because it's working. We're not sure how. And Jimmy, I know you never claim it as yours, but that you're kind of this channel that brings through an energy of support and love and healing, almost like the midwife, like the go-between. Like if you say yes, you're on the list. And Jimmy is consistent. I mean, since we met in San Jose for the Eric Pearl Reconnective Healing Energy classes and training, you have every day been doing this for years. Jimmy, when was that? 2012?
It was, yeah.
So 10 years.
July.
10 years. Who does that every day for 10 years? Jimmy does.
Jimmy does.
And later, one time, we're going to talk about the orbs that are showing up, these orbs of light that show up in Jimmy's living space, because I think he is so consistently opening to love and joy and support for the other. And then because of your friend Bill, Nancy, we learned about this idea of looping the energy. You know, so it's not just Jimmy sending it out as a channel, but inviting the loop to come back to Jimmy. So, you know, he can be uplifted too as a healer to continue.
That's right.
Actually, Nancy has done probably the most for expanding my list because she's sent me so many people. So thank you.
Yes. Well, when I find something that works, I share it. I mean, you know, and as long as Jimmy is willing to accept people on the list, I'm like, fine. And I have a lot of old friends because I'm an old person, and I know a lot of friends that don't want to let help. They deny letting help in, and they want to go back to the pills and the other stuff. And I don't choose to live my life that way. So I very much believe in natural healing. I very much believe in energetic healing. And with where I'm going with ley lines and understanding energy lines on the earth and all that, it's going to be real interesting because, and it's information we're going to need to know because that lets you tap in. And what Jimmy's doing is he's tying into those kind of energetics. You can tie into them yourself and help other people, help yourself, and feel more balanced.
In fact, Jimmy's created an email list too. So if you don't want to put your information in a chat line when we premiere this recording, Jimmy's created an email for you to send your name, your city and state, and a country if you're outside the United States. And the email is Healing Saturdays, plural, 1121 @gmail.com. I'm going to say that one more time. Healing Saturdays 1121 @gmail.com. I think we're getting close to a wrap. Would anyone like to make some final comments about our story with Nancy?
I'm excited that you invited me. I mean, y'all are people I love talking to, and just kind of keep me in the loop. I will be watching to see what you guys are up to, and I'm going to direct people from my garden, my happy little gardeners, to come over and learn how to plant themselves over here.
Right, play on the playground.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on board today, Nancy, to share your tips, to share your wisdom, and to share your humor. Especially your humor.
It's great seeing you, Nancy.
It's good seeing you.
For our viewers, I welcome you and invite you to join us on Healing Saturdays and our journey into healing. Please subscribe and ring the bell, and you'll get notified. And Jimmy's email address, we'll post that below the video today for your purposes.
Thank you, and we'll see you next time. And we'll bring Nancy Jean back and have a little party with her crystal grids. So
yes.
Thanks, everybody. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye now.